everyone. Welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers, seekers of happiness and joy, seekers of a centered approach to success in life, seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
All right, last week we talked about what is your kid currency, which was super fun.
I loved it, and I was super mad we didn't mention Rock'em Sock'em robots.
And
other
all
fun
of the various toys. Yeah.
I was so sad about that. After I reflected, I was like, we didn't talk about toys.
Well, let's not like get too distracted.
Too late. Okay, sorry, and we're back. Hello.
So what we're going to start talking about, which we thought we should bust into 2 episodes because we're going to get way too long, was like, what is your like adult currency? So we talked about all these things that are valuable when you're a kid.
Make you feel rich as a kid.
Yeah, make you feel rich. And so what is that stuff as an adult? Because I thought that was going to be a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, I love it. I love this. You know, as we start talking about this, I actually started wondering, I wonder if being emotionally rich, like what we treat as our adult currency, if as we discuss this, so this is a hypothesis I'm throwing out here before our conversation, because we don't know what we're going to talk about. My hypothesis is that it will be very clearly obvious which one is an extrovert and which one is an introvert. Might be totally wrong. They might not have a thing to do with the topic, but as I started reflecting on what I consider my riches emotionally, they fell into a particular camp. So there you go. I'll just give you that little tidbit.
So you already did some pre-work on exploring this idea.
Not JJ pre-work, like I wasn't on Google and I didn't cheat by going, you better not have gone into Chat GPT PS. Okay.
Did you make a spreadsheet?
No. But basically what I did is I wrote down 4 things that are so messy I can hardly read them on a sheet of paper that has so much other stuff written on it that I really have to work to see these 4 things. That's what I did. But to me, that was quite a bit.
Let's hear them. So what do you...
Well, I'm going to tell you one.
Write down. Okay.
One of the things that I hold dear, and so so first of all, when we talk about this, like what is emotional currency? To me, what we're talking about is what are the emotional things that we hold dear? What do we use the most of in interacting with others? And what do we value the most of for ourselves? And in all transparency, the first thing that I wrote down was persuasion. I love persuasion. I love when people can persuade me and get me excited about something emotionally when I'm in my head about it or whatever. Like I love persuasion, and I love to persuade other people about things that I just think would be super fun or I'm really excited about. That's a big thing for me, persuasion. Because there's this, I know it's
as
weird.
a professional, as a recovering salesperson.
Oh, I never even thought of it.
Persuasion. Yeah.
I never
thought about that. That's like
even
the most obvious
thought about
thing.
it. I never thought of it. Never, ever even thought of it. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Of course you like persuasion because you're a salesperson.
Well, I'm telling you what, persuasion is such a big deal for me. Like, hey, if I go to a restaurant, like I'm telling everybody I know, oh my gosh, you got to go to this restaurant. Like the latest movie I just saw, I found this super awesome pair of bright red Italian loafers. They're so sweet. That is the kind of stuff that I'd be like, you got to check these out. You got to do it. Like that like makes me feel full.
Oh my gosh, it's just more selling.
See, I told you.
Yes.
Now you might already be confirming my hypothesis. Okay, what's one that you have?
Well, okay, so it's so stereotypical. What to me, like I guess like work output or providing things for others or doing things for others is my main emotional currency. Right? If I want to show someone that I like love them or appreciate them or whatever, I do something for them.
You do something for them. Yeah, you totally do. You totally do.
All right. This episode's over. Easy enough.
All right. I have another one.
Okay.
Do you know what I absolutely hold so dear? I just love it. It makes me feel so good. Laughing. I love laughing.
That's why you liked our last episode so much about all of the stuff from our childhood. Because it was a riot.
It was a riot. It was so much fun. That was one of my very favorite ones that we've recorded in a long time because it was just, I could have gone on for 2 hours, as you know. But I love laughing. I love the feeling of laughing. I love the physical feeling of laughing. I love how laughing makes me feel bubbly inside. I love watching other people laugh. I love making, I just love laughing with other people in that space of kind of joy. Not rigid, but just for the fun of the ridiculously of the moment. That is, right. I hold that so dear.
Just being silly, just being free.
Being free. It's like being free, emotionally free. There is a release and a freedom in laughing. So that is one of my big time emotional currencies.
So how do you do that with other people? I mean, I know you, right? Like a lot of things, what I see you do is like when someone's maybe like down or struggling, like you bring that in to their life. Totally.
I always do that. I always have. I use humor as a way of diffusing a lot of tension. And it's, it's a little bit of an art. Like you have to do it in a certain way to make it authentic and to make it be helpful. Sometimes if people are
sometimes you miss and then it becomes really awkward.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to practice, and practice means failing. Fail forward, as they say. Yeah, I do that though. I like to make that. I like to help people with not taking everything so seriously, because in the moment when something's bothering us, it can be the most serious thing in the world. But 2 hours later, or a week later, or a year later, you look back and you can't even remember it because it just wasn't a thing. So in the moment, laughter can kind of crack that egg a little bit,
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's really good. I think that's such a great universal one.
Yeah.
Like for everyone.
Because, even if you don't speak the same language, like body language.
Yeah. A smile and a laugh is like universal. It's like the universal language.
Totally. Yeah, totally. All right. So that was another one of mine. So do you have some, or do you just not have any and you're winging it because because I'm like so excited about this?
I'm kind of winging it, but it's not too hard. I mean to think. So one of my other like currencies is like creativity or ideas.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Like I love sitting with someone in like the process of just like coming up with ideas, like good ones, bad ones, silly ones.
Oh, you love that.
Like,
you do. You love that.
Yeah. So just being in that like co-creation with somebody around like little ideas. That's I think that's like one of the things that I really bring into a relationship.
You do. Like, I was just, what I just went to, like this visual. I don't even know how many years ago was it when I was officing out on Long Lake, and you came there to our conference room, and you and I were building the idea of our startup. We were just building the idea.
Yep.
And you had this way of you doing it, which I'd never seen before, but we've done it millions of times since, and I know you've done it for years and years, which is using index cards.
Oh, right.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. We were in this creaky old conference room with an uneven wooden floor, and the building was super old, but it was actually kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And we had did we have a whiteboard? I think we had a whiteboard, which is always another huge tool for JJ, the whiteboard. Oh yeah, start making the bullet points. and then the index cards, just writing out every concept and idea and then being able to workflow it by using those cards. That was really fun. I remember that was like one of the first times you and I ever really did co-creating.
Yeah, really like popped. It's like the universe sort of like gives you this whole flow of ideas.
Yeah.
It's super
You
fun.
definitely added that to me because I never would have known how to do that. And I've had so much fun over the years doing stuff like that with you. So yeah, that's definitely one that
It's one of my very favorite things to do. I just, even a couple of weeks ago, I helped someone in my business group come up with like a whole core value. We did a whole core values mission thing, and it's the same formula. I had more markers though.
Yeah, more markers. I now travel with my own new markers and replace them every year. I travel with a zippy bag of markers. Okay, here's another one. Loyalty. That's a huge currency for me. And as I start breaking loyalty down, it's not that I have to perform or other people have to perform to prove loyalty. You can just feel loyalty. You can feel that peace, that emotional peace with people. And what I think is even more special is when you see, I mean, there's different kinds of loyalty. There's loyalty that you sense right away, that this is someone's character, right? And you appreciate that if you too have that same kind of interest and focus. But it's also very different than when you look at your really long-term relationships that make it. You know, there's a level of loyalty with long-term relationships that is the same markers, but totally different feeling, right? And so I have always appreciated having loyalty towards people. And when people show me loyalty, I just am so honored by that.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say that. It's like had kind of like that loyalty with a friendship over like many years or decades. Takes a lot of work.
Yeah,
right.
It
So
does.
it's not like, to me, that one's really amazing because it's not a given. It's not easy. Like there's not, it's pretty easy to have a friend for a few years and then sort of like drift apart. But it's hard to keep a relationship up that's close for, you have with some of your friends I know, decades.
Yeah. And there are times too when those friendships change so much that they're no longer things that you should keep in your life. And that's what I mean. So like that loyalty piece is like loyalty to self and loyalty to others. Like it's both. It's like, you know what's best. You know what's best for you. You know what's best for others that are close to you, and being willing to be in the trenches, and also noticing when it's time to not be any longer. But I really think there's something to that, is being able to also be loyal to yourself.
Yeah.
I remember one time when I was little, and I may have used this example in one of our pods before, because now we've been doing this since God was a boy. But I remember when I was in junior high, I had a new school. I moved to Bemidji and for 7th grade, only 7th grade. And Bemidji had a very different culture than anything I was used to. It was a lot rougher. The kids were a little rougher, and I was in culture shock. I just didn't know how to fit in. And there were these two girls that I wanted to be best friends with, and at that age, like having a friend is so important. And these girls and I started to walk to this mall, and it was a long walk, and it was in a pretty busy highway area. And this van pulled over with these guys in it, and they said, "Hey guys, where are you going?" Right? We're 3 7th grade girls.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, we're going to the mall." And they said, "Well, hop in, we'll give you a ride." And they opened the back of their van. They opened the back of their van, and both those girls jumped in, and they sat and waited for me. They both jumped into that van. And I, in that exact moment, I had a huge fight with myself because I wanted to show loyalty and connection to these girls, but I was more loyal to me. And I just said, sorry guys, I can't do that. And I kept walking by myself, and they both jumped out of the van and came back with me.
Well, you might have saved them.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's crazy. You've never told me that story. That's a crazy story.
I haven't? Oh.
No.
Yeah. So that's a moment of loyalty to self, because there's this difference between it's so important to me to have friends as a 7th grade kid in a new school. Like, I'll do anything, but not really. Right?
Yeah.
Not really.
Wow.
So so I think it goes pretty deep. And I think there's a lot of times as kids and adults when we're at this juxtapose of loyalty. But I just think that's a really big one.
That's a heck of a story. How do you follow that story? Jeez.
Do you want to go back to the laughing one?
Yeah, right. Well, what I think is interesting, so when we were talking about the kid stuff, the subtext of all of the kid stuff was around kind of having sort of I'd say we could call it just straight up shelter, right? We talked about having forts and things, and this is just making physical safety, right?
Yeah.
We talked about being having friends and being invited to birthday parties, which would be social safety, right?
Right.
We talked about food, which is again another kind of physical safety thing. So
pickles.
So, but we talked about those things in the kind of but the examples were the things as kids that we found valuable.
Yeah.
You started this adult conversation in at the emotional stuff very easily.
Yeah. Oh.
Right? So you didn't start, when we were talking about the kid stuff, you didn't start with I felt that it was important to be socially connected. We didn't talk like that when we were kids. We talked about being invited to birthday parties.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's true.
It's fascinating that you just jumped right in as an adult. When you had your adult context in, it was right into what's the feeling stuff were much more accessible for you.
Oh, that's so interesting. Ooh, that is very interesting. And I also wonder, for all of us, does the kid emotional currency weigh in on what our emotional currency is as an adult?
Yeah, how much did it shape what we do today?
Right, exactly. Because I was raised in northern Minnesota in a neighborhood full of boys for a long time. And you were raised in Bloomington in a neighborhood. And how has that shaped your interest in relationships and what kind and how you participate in them, the longevity of your relationships? Because you lived in your same home, didn't you? Your whole
whole growing up. Yep.
Yeah, and I moved 26 times before I graduated from high school. In 8 or 9 or 10 different cities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But isn't it interesting, though, that you and I share a lot of the same values when it comes to relationships and people and that sort of thing? Not everything, like persuasion. You don't think of yourself as, interested in persuasion.
So I would say a thing that from when I was I was sharing that I was a very quiet kid.
Yeah.
And the thing that kind of I don't know, caused in me, or maybe I developed is it caused me to be very observant, because I really observed more than I participated. So kind of being able to sit back, observe a whole bunch of things that are going on, and then sort of distill all of that and present it back is a thing that I find that I do.
Yeah. You know what's weird? What's weird is I did the same thing. But I did not attach it to being quiet. I was so observational with everyone because I was always the new kid. And I was
So
really
you're
wanting to not
you're
do,
trying to figure it out, like how all
to
the
fit
puzzle
in
pieces.
so that I didn't
Yep.
stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But both of us cultivated this interesting observational energy. And we both use it very much.
From different from different ways, right? I was kind of not trying to fit in, but just passively observing.
Passively observe. That's a good phrase.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super interesting. All right, I have another one.
Okay.
Being connected to my people.
You are a people person.
I am. And although I'm a people person, my circle of deep connections is quite small. So I'm not interested in being connected to all people for the sake of being connected. Like, it matters to me to be very intentional with certain relationships and foster those and take care of those. And I don't feel good when I can tell one of them is off. You know, it bothers me if I know someone is hurting or, you know, so being connected to my people is incredibly valuable to me. And if somebody disconnects from me because they're having challenges or there's a disagreement or something, it really bothers me. It really bothers me. So like that's something that I hold very dear is that connection with my close inner circle.
Yeah, which you've had for a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of goes back to your like your previous one. Like all yours are kind of like a little bit wrapped around the same thing, right? It's really being really connected with people.
Yeah. And I think that's why I love coaching, and that's why I love being in this development space, because you see authenticity all day long. You see realness. You see people being vulnerable and showing their emotions and being willing to connect to do that. And what an honor that is for me, because I value it so much.
Yeah. I feel like one of your currencies is like supporting other people, like helping other people become the best versions of themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's nice to say. I never noticed that, but yeah, that's exactly it. Do you have any other big insights for me? I feel like I'm really learning. I feel like we've really switched roles. I feel like I'm having a coaching session today.
Oh no.
Oh, it's awesome. I love it. But I'm not the one coaching. Yeah, you are. You're doing a great job. Oh, you always are. You have great insight. You've always been like that. The thing about you is you do have that observational piece, and you will be quiet. But when something needs to be said and it matters, you'll say it. And you just go right in.
Yep.
You don't wrap much cotton around the rock when you throw it. You just go right in and say, this is what I'm seeing. Why are you doing this? And it's so accurate every single time. So yeah, the delivery, I don't even think we're talking about the delivery in terms of currency.
Yeah. All right. Here's another one that like I felt about myself is like general kind of like more calm and steadiness, right? I think I bring a calm, like when all chaos is happening around me at home or work, it's like, I don't know. I bring the calming energy to just get everything to simmer down for a while.
Yeah.
So
that is a personality marker of a high patience person. P.S. Just saying. Side note. I love that. Yeah, I think, and you value that. You value calm. Yeah.
Yeah, I value calm, and you know, in some ways, not that I try to. I like this. I like when there's a situation that calls for calmness. It sounds funny.
Calls for a situation that calls for your cape.
Yeah,
Get my cape.
Exactly.
I love it. Does it have a high collar? Is it like lined in velvet?
Oh, that sounds awesome. I should get a calmness cape. That's maybe we're just going to start like a new mental health trend.
Calm.
Like, yeah.
Actually, I think they're already using an app
You're like a
called
little
Calm.
spooled up. You're really spooled up, so you like put your calmness cape on and it hugs you.
I love it. I wouldn't even know what to do with that. I'd feel so oppressed. Calm down. It's just like most women will tell you if they're really spooled up, the last thing to do is to tell them to calm down. Yeah.
Never say
but you
to
could
someone
just,
else
you
calm
could,
down.
But you definitely could put the cape on and just casually walk through the scene.
Stand there with the cape on.
Oh, well,
this is great. Like there's so many, everyone's got their own special things about them and what they bring to these, to relationships with others and how they interact with everybody. And this is a great thing to think about. And I like being intentional about thinking about it, because then you can, you've always said like, an overused strength can also become a liability. Yeah. Right. So just being aware of like which things you're really good at and what do you really bring to your relationships.
Yeah.
And then just don't over lean on those sometimes. Right. Like,
for
example, if Amber's upset at me for some reason and I go like a crazy person and clean the house. Right. That's trouble. That's like my, like, no, I'm showing you how much I love you. Right. And to her, it's like the opposite.
We get that at our house too. Totally. Totally. Yep. Well, and I have two things to add to that because I'm in alignment 100%. And I was going to say two other focuses that you could kind of be thinking about in this same topic is to doing your own inventory, which we're always a fan of. But I would ask you to ask yourself, do you know what your closest people around you, what their emotional currency is? Do you know what theirs is? And the other thing, it's just a sidebar, kind of interesting. I wonder if we sort of collect around people that have similar ones.
That's an interesting question. The thing you said about like knowing other people's emotional currency makes me think of the 5 love languages thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's like those kind of like dovetail together in a way, I'm sure. But this is like a little bit broader because five love languages is only 5 things. So
yeah. Well, and that's only like how you express to your to your partner. But this is really, and understanding your own, of course. But yeah, I do think it is really interesting to think about it from that perspective of what do you use, what do you lean on, your own intentionality, and are the people around you sort of in the same vein of that, or are they completely opposite because you need that as a counterbalance?
Right,
it's an interesting thing to think
about. You might be like gravitating towards something that isn't as natural for you.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, exactly. Anyway, such a good conversation.
Awesome. Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well.
Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and there's always further to go. And it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them. We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring, seekers.